if you don't have the original actor. That's my thing with these franchises that try to make sequels but don't have the original actors. It started with Halloween Town. They recast.
Here we go.
They recast the main character, and it was saying nobody likes that movie because they recast the main actress.
That's not why no one likes that movie.
And then they recently did it with the Megamind franchise. They didn't have any of the regular.
There's so many other great examples you could have given. You're going Halloween Town.
You can't
and
even
Megamind.
watch it.
Megamind.
Welcome to Galaxy Bound Podcast. We're talking about Andor episodes 4, 5, and 6. We just watched them, and again, we are a day late, so at least we just watched them, so they're fresh in our mind. Hopefully we remember, talk about everything that we need to. Our sister Olivia is joining us again as a guest, unfortunately.
Just
The slander.
Yeah, slammed every time you come on.
The slander. So yeah, initial reactions. I guess you could start this time. I started last time. You could start this time.
No, I can go. I was not as big of a fan or excited about this 3-episode session.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really slow.
Yeah.
With really not a ton that happened.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the only thing that happened this year that you're going to spend a whole year on, and this is the only thing that happened.
Yeah.
The first 2 episodes, I think could have been done in 1 episode, and then even the 3rd episode, I think could have been tacked on as a end of episode 1, start of episode 2 kind of a thing, and then had way more to do with this. It was just a lot of dialogue, a lot of I know they were revealing a lot of the not double agent stuff, but behind the scenes, them knowing what's happening, the bugging,
Yeah.
But it just was really slow. I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of what I said with the last 3 episodes. All right, what are we doing here? What is the end goal here? Because we found out that the Gorman Massacre, which was an event that happened in Legends, and we know it happened in canon, has already happened.
Yeah.
And they called it the Tarkin Massacre.
Yeah.
And so now the stakes for what is going to happen is so much lower than what we were expecting.
As far from a viewer's perspective?
Yeah, from a view. Well, maybe from both the viewer and the characters in the story.
Yeah.
Which I think could be interesting. It just might not be
What everyone thought.
Yeah, we could still get a really big event that happens.
Yeah. Well, I think we will have to. I mean, we've seen the trailer for the show.
Something big happens.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be what they may have called the massacre before, which is probably why they renamed it to the Tarkin Massacre, to then have something even bigger take place of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just kind of.
Do you think that sits well with the Star Wars fandom that knows more about the Gorman Massacre, for the writers to think so little of it that it's just a passing conversation in the show rather than the main climax of the show?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. In my mind, I'm thinking okay, these Star Wars fans, they know this show overlaps this thing in Legends, and
Well,
it's like
it actually doesn't. This actually lines up better with Legends. Yeah, it actually did happen when they said it did in the show. So the issue before was that they are going to
try and force it to fit.
Yeah. Well, they were going to basically realign it to be closer to the movies rather than in Legends it takes place closer to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Well, not so much the timing of it, but more so the idea of it. So like they've said like, oh, it's not a big enough event in this story that we need to actually show it.
Right. I don't think that will be that big of a deal. I'm not.
Oh, well, I guess you can't say yet.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but I'm not super familiar with the original Gorman Massacre all that much. I don't know if Mon Mothma was involved with the in canon how she gives that speech as a result of it. I can't imagine that would have happened in Legends. I guess we could look it up because it would happen so early in the timeline.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a massacre, so it's a big deal, but I don't think it was as big of a thing in Legends. It was just a thing that happened.
So he came to their planet and was trying to land, but there were so many people stopping him from landing that he just landed on top of them.
Yeah. Brutal.
That's Tarkin for you.
Yeah. So it was interesting that they mentioned it as much as they did, and they had a memorial for it and everything because it had been 16 years prior.
My question is, why during the first 3 episodes, again, I haven't watched your first podcast on this series, but why are they wanting to go to Gorman?
Who's they?
The Empire?
Yeah. I mean, I know they're there, but why is Tarkin, whenever he had that group, why did he want them to go there? I feel like I missed that.
It wasn't Tarkin.
Or Krennic, sorry.
Oh.
We were talking about Tarkin.
Yeah, the core of the planet has
Calcite?
Yeah. Which is for
You don't know what that is?
Not in my vocabulary.
Were you did you listen to the conversation that they had in that boardroom?
But it was really confusing.
Basically, they're using the calcite. It's like a metal or a mineral or whatever to coat the lenses for the Death Star, which is the reactor laser.
And
Gorman is important in the galaxy with its fashion.
Yeah.
Spiders.
Yeah, they supply basically the whole galaxy with...
I followed that part, but that didn't make sense for the Empire. But the material does,
Yeah, they have this
stone.
material in the center of the planet. And...
They didn't explain in the episode that that's what it was for.
Yeah,
they did.
He said it.
Did he really?
Yeah, he said it's going to coat the lenses for the Death Star's reactor.
Oh. I didn't catch that
I remember that
part.
now, but...
Well, he didn't say Death Star. He said...
The Emperor's Project or something.
Okay.
The weapon or something like that. He was vague about that, but obviously...
Okay.
A reactor laser.
Yeah. We all knew what it was for.
And it's Krennic.
Yeah.
But the whole reason they're there is because they initially are trying to figure out sort of a diplomatic way of taking this mineral from this planet without just going in and saying that this is ours, we want this.
Yeah.
They're actually kind of trying to either befriend them or figure out a way to do it so they don't kill a bunch of people.
Right.
So that's why they're there.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is if they mine the calcite, it makes the planet unstable.
Did they say that?
Did they say
Yes.
that?
That's why they said if we did evacuation, it would cause an uproar in the people, and then we wouldn't be able to leave all at the same time. So they were trying to get ideas of moving
that.
But that's
people from the planet to somewhere else.
like social instability.
Yeah, I don't think it was like if they take this, the planet itself is ruined.
That's how I took it, but I don't know.
Oh,
Well, the way you just described it wasn't the way you took it.
Yeah,
The planet's core is unstable.
Yeah, but then you said that people will be in an uproar.
Of evacuating because
Their planet,
the planet
will be
can't
gone.
hold them.
Yeah,
It's very Old Republic.
I thought the way that he was describing it in the show was that they couldn't just come in, take the minerals, and leave without the planet basically like souring the reputation of the Empire across the
Yeah,
universe.
because they wouldn't just leave. Like,
Yeah.
they would be there indefinitely, just mining it the whole time.
Yeah.
And people, like, they need to get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just take it, you know?
So they wanted to keep a good relationship with the people so that it basically the rest of the galaxy isn't like coming to Gorman's aid and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyways,
Did
that's
that
why
answer
they're
your question?
I think so. I think I had multiple questions within that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we're probably maybe all on the same page with how we feel about these 3 episodes.
I'll be honest, I didn't like these 3 at all, really. I just feel like it didn't progress the story enough for it to be 3 episodes worth of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was thinking about this like okay, if this was actually truly like a movie and we saw
It would have been a terrible movie.
I was like this would have like flopped in theaters if this was just like a second sequel to like the first.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
Yeah.
word.
I would almost argue that that's the same case for the first 3, too.
No, the first 3, like you started off like right away with action. They got you in. There was enough happening that you were kind of on the edge of your seat with like trying to figure out like, okay, who's this character? Like, okay, what's going to happen to these people? Are they going to get there in time? Like there was enough of like uneasiness that you were like, okay, I want to know what's going to happen. This one, it's like, I was ready for scenes to like move faster because I was like, I don't need to see 2 people kissing in a room for 10 minutes. Like, let's get back to what they were talking
None
about
of them
before.
were that long. I was glad that they were short.
Yeah.
In those
Yeah.
scenes, there was like, we're not going to see them making out and like
Yeah.
getting busy, you know?
Yeah, but like
They cut it right when I was like, okay, thank you for cutting it there. But it was still like, we don't. Didn't need that.
It was still 3 minutes too long for me.
Yeah, like
I
it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there were a lot of those like shorter scenes that just felt like it made the whole part drag out because it was just not progressing the story. It wasn't a conversation that needed to be in there.
Yeah. There was a lot of dialogue that was, I mean, all of the dialogue was good. It was just, it just didn't progress it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many good conversations and lines. I was like, wow, that was really good writing. And then like the next scene was like, okay, that was good. Like if I was reading this in a book, that would be really cool. But this isn't a book.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like that's what a lot of these scenes were, is like kind of like just context pages in a book. Then whenever you like translate it to like a movie or a show, you would have just left those out, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So I maybe that's kind of the issue, is like maybe they wrote it with like that mindset. He wrote it with that mindset, and then I don't know. Especially when you think back of like, this was supposed to be like, each of these arcs is supposed to be like what was originally supposed to be a whole season of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like how?
Yeah.
How? with these 3, how would have that been a season?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm struggling to see the purpose of some of the storylines. Like obviously we have 6 more episodes left. But I don't see where some of them are going. obviously we have the two main ones with Mon Mothma, and then
We got barely any of her in these.
but she's still the main one of the main storylines.
I'm just saying, like, we should have focused on her more.
Yeah. We have that, then we have
Dedra and Cyril.
yeah, with Gorman stuff, like all of that is important. And then everything else is like
Luthen and Andor and
yeah,
Bix.
it's not really going anywhere. Sounds like they're splitting up.
Who?
Andor and Luthen. Like
Well, they just did a thing for him at the very end.
Unhappily.
was that for Luthen?
Well, they saw the light blinking.
Blinking, yeah. And she said, "I'm coming this time." And then the next scene with them is them
Them
blowing
doing
it
that.
up together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would assume that was his doing, because that was a result of the conversation between Cassian and Luthen of him like, if you want me involved, you're gonna have to help me too.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were trying to help Bix.
Yeah, basically help Bix get over
her back
Yeah.
to healthy.
Yeah, which I thought was a really cool. I was so worried that Luthen was just gonna be like, nope. But I was glad that.
Yeah,
He
I
did
think
that.
that could have moved up
Yes.
further into the story.
That should have been like the end of episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then episode 3 be, I don't know, their next mission or something. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I just feel like we should have had something way bigger for this second set of 3.
I thought the weapons thing was going to be more chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have more happen during it. Like they just electrocuted there was one driver, one person
For
on
all those weapons.
for all those weapons, and like maybe that was the Imperial
I think,
like doing that on purpose
because it was a setup. Yeah.
but like yeah.
It should have been a bigger heist.
Yeah.
And have a payoff too. Like we might get that, but if it's going to be a year later.
Yeah. Like,
But if they have all these weapons,
Yeah.
that's what's interesting is like this revolt is going to have all of these weapons now that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
So that's probably what's going to pop off.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing with Vel and Cinta with her getting shot, well, it just felt so unnecessary.
yeah.
And I loved her telling the kid at the very end, like basically like, you are a screw up and like you don't deserve anything.
You're gonna
Like,
think about this for the rest of your life.
yeah, I love
Wear
that.
it like skin.
That was a great scene of her doing that, because I felt the same way. I was like, you are an idiot.
That was like the only kind of like good emotional acting in any of these 3 episodes, I thought.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't think Bix was good?
Bix was good.
She was great.
Yeah.
What emotional part did she have?
She's
Addicted
got
to
PTSD.
Yeah, but like it wasn't like she was having like a major like meltdown in any of the episodes. She was taking medicine in 3 scenes. That was it.
Well,
Like this was the only like episode where I was like, oh, like that was like really good, like acting on both of their parts to like really show like raw emotion. And
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, more extreme emotion for sure. But I mean, Bix had some really good emotional scenes. Like her very first scene in like the first episode was her like waking up with the blaster and was like freaking out of the
I'm
doctor.
just talking about
Shaking.
these 3 episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the beginning of this.
the beginning of the first one.
Yeah. When she walks into the living room and almost shoots
Yeah,
the living room chair.
yeah, basically.
I really liked Andor's off-world mission where he was pretending to be the
Yeah, that was cool.
The designer.
yeah, because like I don't know, it was cool to see him in a different personality than his wartime
Wartime.
everything's dreadful now he's like, I'm a fashion designer. Show
I'm
me,
a fashion designer.
show me your samples. And then like just seeing in the like shop like how quickly they changed between like talking about the things that they need to talk about and then switching to, okay, I will come back.
Yeah.
Set me an appointment, whatever. Like how quickly he did that was really cool. And then just everyone he talked to afterwards was like, okay, who were you this time? He's like, oh, I was whatever his name was. Something Sky.
Yeah, what was it?
Varian
Sky.
Yeah.
It's a good name. Yeah, it just brought it back to like being a spy thriller and leaning really heavily into that. Like when he like had his headphones on and he was listening to like who his persona was going to be.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was like
cool.
super like James Bond or
Yeah.
what's the other one?
Mission Impossible?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But
There's so many, but yeah, that's a good one.
Once you had said that the Gormans remind you of like the French, all I could think of was like, yeah, this is France.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
the
Like I couldn't get that out of my
everything about
head.
it. Yeah, it was like a very French-esque accent.
Yeah.
Everything that they like wore reminded me of like French Revolution.
Yeah.
Like Les Miserables type of like people.
Very intentional.
And
I'm
then
pretty sure their language was just French.
It sounded like it.
If not, then like it must have like
they probably hired like French actors.
Yeah, I think
or
you could-
people that were like
they
fluent
look
in French.
Yeah, you could
and
tell.
had them trained to. I don't know. I mean, there may be dialects in France that they were like, oh yeah, this is like a super like old traditional dialect of French. Let's use this as the language
That'd
for
be
Gorman.
cool.
Francois gibberish.
The two
Gibberish.
words she knows in French.
French
gibberish.
Croissant.
Cafe.
cafe. Croissant.
But yeah, no, that was cool to see because I mean we know that like the Empire is supposed to depict like, you know, Nazi Germany, and so
Not the Vietnam War.
not the Vietnam War. So then to
There's a
see
callback from
like
last episode.
another
I'll have to watch that.
like country depicted into like kind of like the World War
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
world is kind of
Yeah, maybe like slightly too on the nose in some ways.
yeah.
And
They're in like berets.
yeah,
and,
when
like,
you put on a beret, I was just like, no.
I will say this. It did bring closure to Bix's character of her being able to torture the person who's been causing her the PTSD at the very end of the episode. And because you see through the first 6 of like he's in her dreams, he's haunting her. And then for her to torture him, and also just with the fact that at the end of the 3rd episode of this season, like she almost got raped, so that's another thing added on to her PTSD.
Yeah,
Where
like, I wonder.
she's able to take all of this pent up angst and anger, putting it onto this person who started the whole PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I don't think her
blowing.
PTSD is done.
Oh, probably not,
No.
but it was probably really good for her to do that.
Oh yeah.
Good justice.
Plus, that was probably one of the best.
Sorry.
Just go into Batman mode. Justice.
Thinking of that video.
vengeance.
What do you want for breakfast, honey?
Justice.
Max, what do you want for dinner?
It's one of my favorite videos. What was I gonna say? Oh, it was like it was probably the best scene of them just walking. She like blasts the guy, and then they just walk and they don't look back at the explosion because you can't. And that was such a great
Anytime
ending.
you're walking away from something exploding behind you,
Yeah,
it's gonna be great cinema.
yeah, like peak action movie cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned the droid. When are they going to get the droid back?
They probably won't.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
At least he's safe. I feel like if we had him back, he would be in danger the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't even think they'll go back to that planet.
No.
Now that, like, even some of the stuff that's going on in year 2, like, we probably won't even see some of that stuff happen again. Like,
Yeah, not many people are making it out of this show alive,
yeah.
sadly. So
We didn't get to see K2SO.
I know. I
Those
actually
three.
was kind of disappointed in that.
yeah, I really hope that happens in the next ones and not saving it for the very end.
Yeah.
But we've seen scenes with him, so like at least in the trailer, at least we know it's not going to be like at the very end be like, and I'm K2SO, and then it's like the Michael Bay ending. So hopefully we know that is not true, that won't happen, but yeah, I really hope he shows up in the next 3. So the Bale recast.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah,
It was really brief, so it wasn't like
which makes it weirder.
Yes.
true.
So I wonder if Jimmy Smits just didn't want to come back for it, or if he was busy doing something else. Or
Is he in a lot of other stuff?
I don't think so. I think he was in something last year.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he just didn't think that him going back would match up with what he looked like during that time. And maybe he just thought it would be better if they recasted him.
Well, this
Even if-
is in a time. Well, yeah, he was in Rogue One, but he was in the Obi-Wan show,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked older in that than he did in Rogue One. Obviously,
What did he
they
look
didn't
like?
de-age him.
What did he look like in Kenobi?
Older, like they didn't de-age him
They didn't CGI his face?
because it's not like that different. Rogue One is in 2016. Obi-Wan show is 2022.
Maybe 23.
No, it wasn't 23. It was either 1 or 2. I always go by what apartment I lived in at the time. So yeah, like they could have just de-aged him a little bit
Yeah.
if they were worried about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me want to watch
So that
Obi-Wan
makes me
again.
think that it's probably him that chose not to be involved.
I would assume, especially for such a small little scene.
Yeah.
Like all it was is her saying hi, basically, and him saying hi back. They like said like one other thing, and that was it.
So do you think that they made it a small role because... I mean, I feel like it was small enough that, like, why even include it at all?
That's what I was just thinking. If they didn't have the original
Well-
actor, what was the point of including that in the show?
I kind
Well,
of
he
agree.
might come back.
Yeah, he could...
We're only
yeah.
halfway through now.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm sure he probably would, especially this picture that we just saw on the data bank. Where was that? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Isn't... We have not
We
seen
have not
that
seen that
scene
yet. Yeah.
What's he in? I've seen him before.
Oh, yeah, it is Modern Family. I guess I watched that a year ago, but he plays Manny's dad.
Like his
I
real
haven't
dad.
seen that show, so that's not what I'm thinking of.
Well, the audience has seen it because it's a great show.
It's on my list to watch.
It's, yeah. I think everyone should watch it. It's a great show. You've never seen Modern Family?
No, I have.
Well,
Something new for me.
it's good, but he apparently doesn't like it.
He has weird taste, though. We've learned.
We've learned that. But you do know, you remember Manny.
Yeah.
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 Anyways. So I'm sure we'll see more of him. And that makes me wonder if we'll see him in other stuff.
What shows or...
I don't know, like, maybe not.
If they do a Kenobi 2.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But by that point, they would have to.
Wouldn't have to.
They would have to do him because he's already in it.
Well, the actors get a choice.
I know, but
It's not like they keep them chained up in a locker and they're like,
all right, your turn.
You're up. You don't get food till you act. Yeah, like you could say the
Dance
same
monkey.
thing about all of Star Wars. Like he was already him, so why didn't they just get him back?
I know. That's what I said before. Why include that scene if you don't have the original actor? That's my thing with these franchises that try to make sequels but don't have the original actors. It started with Halloween Town. They recast.
Here we go.
They recast the main character, and it was saying like nobody likes that movie because they recast the main actress.
That's not why no one likes that.
And then they recently did it with the Megamind franchise. Like they didn't have any of the regular.
There's so many other great examples you could have given. You're going with Halloween Town
You can't
and
even
Megamind.
watch it.
Megamind's animated. No one would have even known.
You can tell it's not Will Ferrell. That is not Will Ferrell's voice.
Oh my gosh, who'd they get?
I don't know. You could just tell it wasn't him, so you stopped watching.
Yeah, you could definitely tell.
Damn you, Hollywood. You ruined Halloween Town and Megamind for us.
Now I'm curious.
What movies would you think of?
I don't really know very many sequels that haven't had the main actors come back that were portraying an original character. Just,
I mean, in Star Wars, it happened with Han Solo in the Solo movie.
Yeah, that's different though.
How?
That is the exact same.
well,
'Cause
you
that was
physically can't.
prequel, yeah.
that.
So because it was a prequel,
Yeah.
so you're portraying a younger version. But
Yeah.
I'm not mad about that.
More
He
so
was-
like a second movie shortly after that they had to recast.
oh, I see.
You're saying like why
So the
even
biggest
do it?
Why
example-
even make a sequel?
is Iron Man going to Iron Man 2 with Rhodey.
Yeah,
That
is
was
a
like
big one.
the most infamous example.
Yeah.
They even like had to do the cheeky little like, I'm here now, get over it. It is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which was great. I love that they did that.
but
But
that wasn't the main character.
He was
neither is Bail Organa.
Well, no, I'm not mad about him. But if they were to make a second season of Obi-Wan and have Organa in there,
I don't think he's a big enough character.
I don't.
most
If they
people
made a
would.
season 2, yeah, I don't think he would even be involved.
I mean, he was in a lot of episodes in that season.
I know, but I think that story would be
Just-
over.
Yeah.
Like
true.
the more they are in contact with each other, the more in danger they're putting the kids, and like
Mm-hmm.
that would kind of go against what they're trying to do. Andor.
Andor, Cassian.
I mean, what's going to happen in the next 3? Really,
Yeah.
is the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the disappointing part about where we're halfway through, and
Yeah.
what have we accomplished?
Mostly just set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken
No real
6
fighting.
Yeah, 6 episodes to set up.
They're setting up something with Saw that
Yeah,
you
that was
just
another-
know it's gonna go wrong.
I know.
Yeah.
I was also kind of disappointed in that arc a little bit too, because I was like that wasn't enough, and what we got was like really kind of weird and unhinged.
Well,
Yes.
it was
And I know that's his character,
it
but
was
also
to
it's
show
like,
that he's that way now, which was good.
yeah,
But it was definitely like, okay, you're
tripping out on some like
tripping out
fuel
on
fumes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like going to a gas station and just like
This is the stuff.
huffing
And then you
gasoline.
get like some teenage boy that you like took there too to like do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting.
Just
But
have the whole team on the hillside looking at him too.
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder if it'll have a purpose. Like, this is dark, but like they have like gasoline fumes in their body and they like suicide bomb.
Mm.
Hmm.
That might be too dark for Star Wars, but that's kind of what I thought of. If there was a purpose to that, that would make the most
Yeah,
sense.
because they didn't really even hint at all what the purpose of this converter is at all.
Other than fuel. Like they said it was for fuel.
Yeah, I know, but for what purpose?
I would assume that it's not just for fueling their things, but fueling bombs. Knowing him. You know?
Do we know what his in Rogue One when he has to just constantly like take a breather from his tank? Is that oxygen he's breathing, or is
It's probably
that
because
the
of
gas?
Gives me life.
That's a good point.
Because if it's the gas, then this is the start of it, or the middle of it, really.
Like he's just constantly
in need of
puffing
it.
gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, or he's like ruined his lungs so much over the years because of this that by the time we get to Rogue One, he like has to be on basically like a ventilator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I thought it would have been like.
Yeah.
Or an accident happened, he has to have oxygen constantly.
Yeah, I would assume because we know he has to lose his legs somehow.
Right.
Like he still has his legs in this show. And he doesn't
Forgot
have
about
legs in
that.
Rogue One, so
Yeah.
Thing gonna happen.
yeah, he's gonna be an idiot and do something bad.
Yeah.
That's probably what the gas is for then. To explode something pretty big.
Yeah, I would assume.
And he's going to be right in the middle of it.
I feel like something's gonna happen to Bix because she's not in Rogue One, is she? Something's gonna happen to her too.
Yeah, I was so sure that she was just gonna commit suicide,
Yeah.
which
In this show or in these 3 episodes?
in these 3 episodes,
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be like,
he was going to come back and she was going to be.
and then that was gonna be like one of another turning point for Cassian of like, all right, I guess I'm all in. Or maybe you find out that Luthen is the one that did it.
Yeah, I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was another option.
I thought he was coming to kill her.
Yeah.
Like, he got Cassian to go on a mission.
Yeah.
Let's kill the distraction.
Stage her to make it look like a suicide.
Yep.
So that it would drive him to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
But it
that's
didn't
his
happen.
character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead he helped them. So
Currently, right now in the storyline, who does Krennic think Luthen is? Or was that the first time meeting him?
I think it was the first time, but he kept side-eyeing him.
Yeah. Well, and he was side-eyeing Krennic too. Like it was a lot of like silently sizing each other up a little
Yeah.
bit. So I didn't know if that meant like they had previously known about each other, but there weren't really any like film indicators that was the case. So I was like,
No.
is this the first time they were ever seeing each other?
They Krennic definitely wouldn't know about him
Okay.
because they've been trying to search for him
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
Because
But-
he's Axis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime they mention Axis, they're talking about Luthen.
Yeah.
What does the
And Luthen's people.
ISB stand for?
Imperial
Security Bureau.
Security Bureau. They're like the intelligence.
I figured it was Imperial something.
International Spy Boys.
Oh, that's so good.
What did Saw call that boy? Or the boy? Something the boy?
Yeah, what was
They just said his name.
Hamlin the
Wilman.
Wilman the boy.
Wilman.
Wilman
But
the-
he like separated. He's like Wilmon the boy. Gave him like a superhero name.
So funny. In that scene where he shot the other guy,
Yeah.
I was so sure he was going to shoot the boy
Yeah. I mean,
to give the guy some motivation. But that was a cool
they kind of
twist in the
set that up.
story.
Yeah.
I liked that they put that in there, that there was a little bit of like some spy happening on them.
Yeah.
And they figured it out. Because when he was talking to him, I was like, did you really just tell him like where we're all going and everything? Like usually people keep that kind of stuff tight to their chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they were going the next day, like, I thought that was weird that he wouldn't have told him.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially since he needed to
he needed
focus all
to
of his
prepare
Yeah.
and not kill them all. So then I was like, okay, he actually was going to give him the location.
Mhm.
But then you find out that's why. So,
Yeah, that scene was
and he
crazy.
knew that the boy, Wilmon the boy, didn't need to know that in order to do it.
Yeah.
So that was a good twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker, so good. He's good at playing a crazy
Mm-hmm.
old man.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
I'm really hoping the next 3, the Empire just like is more active anywhere. I don't care where it is.
Yeah, I want to
just want to see some action from
less
the Empire.
lovey-dovey, more kick some butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see them feel some like fire from the rebellion that they actually need to like, not like panic, but like figure out a plan to like, we need to snuff this out before it becomes like too big and like something happen.
I could see, since they let them take all those weapons, that actually backfires on them, and they really need to stop them from actually doing stuff.
Well, yeah, because the Gormans are really motivated to get the Empire out of there. I feel like giving them weapons.
Well, this was the Empire's plan. They wanted them to get the weapons.
Mhm.
I know,
They
but
want them to create a rebellion because that's easier for them to explain when they can kill everybody on the planet and then mine it.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was their plan all along.
But I feel like what could happen is that rebellion gets too big
Yeah.
or too out of hand too fast to where the Empire really has to step
No,
in.
that's the whole point of the show.
No, I know. But I want to see that in these next 3
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The irony of this whole entire storyline is that the Empire actually created the rebellion.
Yes. Yeah.
But then it got too out of hand that it actually was a much bigger rebellion and
Yeah.
lasted for decades.
Yeah. That would be ideal.
so you're saying that they created the rebellion to gain control of all of these planets?
No.
Not the rebellion.
This rebellion
Just
on
this one.
Gorman.
Okay.
But this rebellion on Gorman became like the focal kind of explosion point for the rebellion to actually become united. Yeah.
Or at least start to.
No, because Luthen's been like puppeting all of this to
Yeah.
be behind the scenes before Gorman. But the interesting thing is like Luthen doesn't know how Gorman is going to play a role in this yet. He just knows that they will in some capacity, and he's trying to figure out what the motivation behind the Empire is. So
Yeah.
I'm more interested to see how he figures that out, and then what he does with that to actually because he's going to be the mastermind behind all of this.
You can also see him. We talked about this last week, but he could die anytime from here on.
Luthen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not in Rogue One? Oh,
No.
he was.
No, the only two
Maybe I should
characters
watch
that are
Rogue One
in
again.
Rogue One, correct me if I'm wrong, is Krennic and Cassian.
And Mon Mothma.
Everybody else is either going to die before the movie starts, storyline-wise,
Or
And-
dies in the movie.
or dies in the movie.
Right.
And also, there's still going to be, I would assume, some characters they'll introduce in this show that are in Rogue One that they potentially could either highlight or introduce to
Right.
be a main role.
Yeah.
So there's still some things that
Yeah.
need to happen that we know are,
When we know we'll see K2SO, and we know we'll see Milshi.
yeah.
But he has a very minor role in Rogue One. He's the guy that escaped from the prison with Cassian last season.
I'm still really hoping there is some scenes of them developing the Death Star plans and showing just a little bit of
Jen's dad.
yes,
Galen or
Oh.
so.
Galen. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I need to watch Rogue One
Because
again.
he's a double agent, and so like
good.
it would be cool to see him in this show portraying that, like that he's working for the Empire as like a scientist to help develop all this, and like
Yeah.
we see his like double agent side,
Yeah.
but we probably won't. I don't know if they would get the actor to come back and do it or not. But it could be one of those that's like a big enough shock that like they didn't show it in the trailer, so it's like that's the big reveal.
Do you
Yeah.
think he
Oh,
really
Galen
did
was it?
anything that often to like help with the rebellion besides what he did in the movie?
Well, okay, so in the movie, like he's the one that is helping the rebellion get the plans, correct?
No.
Well, no. He's the one that made the plans.
He's the
Yeah.
engineer who just made the plan or the exploit in the plans. He
Yeah.
didn't really do anything to help them.
well,
He's the one that builds the way that the Rebel Alliance can actually
yeah.
he's the one that made the flaw.
yes.
Yes.
So I feel like there has to be something in this show that will address that, because this is the part where those plans are being developed. This is where they create the Death Star idea. Like, this whole entire show is about getting materials to make the Death Star. Like, I just feel like there would be a moment where they're like, oh, and this is, our chief science officer. Like,
Yeah, I could see like.
and then there's a conversation in
something like
secret
that.
it's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I built the flaw in there. This is how you're going to do it. And I don't know.
I wouldn't say we would need that because all of that is explained really well in the movie.
And
You
I feel
know?
like that's the first time they hear it anyways. Is in that movie. The rebellion. Like that there is a flaw in this
No,
Death Star.
they talk about it in Empire Strikes Back,
It's after it's been destroyed.
A New Hope.
But that's
I know. I'm
after
saying
Rogue One.
the
Yeah.
rebellion in the timeline. Rogue One is the first time that they learn that there is a flaw in the
Yeah.
Death Star.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes.
Which is why they like have to act so quick, because
They who?
the rebellion.
Or they get killed with the plans.
No. That couldn't be well, okay. The rebellion as a whole, yes, but I think people in the rebellion, kind of like Luthen, like he's been doing things in secret to ensure things happen in the future
Yeah.
for the sake of the rebellion, but not everybody that's part of the rebellion knows things that like Luthen's been doing. So I
Right.
think it's similar to that. Like someone is ensuring that in the future this will happen and be able to be destroyed. But like somebody has to, he isn't just deciding himself as like an Imperial officer, like I'm going to build these plans as a flaw and then
Well, I mean, he
I
could have.
feel like that's
what? Why
The
would he
whole
do that?
Because
He
he
has like
wanted-
an inner controversy within himself.
Yeah, like I think his whole arc was like he signed on to like develop something. It was like the power that was supposed to be for the Death Star was supposed to be like an unlimited energy source or something. Like he signed on to work on that because he thought it was going to be something good to benefit the whole galaxy. And then it turns out it was for a super weapon to destroy, and he was already in it by the time he learned that. And so I think that was his whole character arc, was like he doesn't want to go along with that, so he's gonna make a flaw built in and hope that someone comes along and is able to exploit that. But that doesn't ignore what you're saying. Like, he could still be working, because we know he knows Saw, because he leaves Jin with Saw.
Yeah, that's right.
So we know that they're at least familiar with each other. And I don't think he would just leave his daughter with someone, you know.
So there's enough unknown about his character that they could do some stuff in the show, but not enough that it's required.
Correct.
Okay.
It would be cool, though.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to have a similar situation, what you were explaining, where he's talking with one of his engineer buddies in the base about designing a specific piece, and the guy says, no, it needs to be like this so that we don't have this flaw.
That would be interesting.
And then he's like, but like, I think this would make it work so much more better.
More better.
And
Mo better.
since he's the chief engineer, like his word goes.
Yeah, that would be a cool scene. Like someone trying to say, like, no, this is
Wrong.
This is not how we
this is
should
how
do
we have
it.
to do it. So
Yeah.
okay.
like, oh, this ventilates the reactor better. More betterer.
Yeah.
Overall, little bit of a downtick.
Yeah.
I think we went from like a 6 or 7 rated from episode 1 through 3 to maybe down to like
A 3.
3 or 4
Yeah.
here in 4 through 6.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So I just hope that the next 3 is a ton of good payoff for this. Because then, like, when you end up watching it all 12 together, then it probably would be fine.
Yeah, it's probably, we're in the point of a normal like 8 episode season that they've done where we're in like episode 3 and 4 where it's like bleh. And that actually has been the case for a lot of shows they've done.
Yeah.
Where you have
not
one,
just them, like,
well, yeah, a
shows
lot of
in general. Yeah.
Those middle episodes right after like the beginning, engaging part of the show, you're just a little bit dry. And then you hit like that middle climax, peak character development.
Yeah.
Everything hits the fan type of thing in the third part of the season.
Yeah.
So
High
hopes.
Since it's going to be a year later, I do think it's going to, because you have to continue with what they've set up.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they do have all of those weapons, and then a year later, maybe they've hit multiple of them throughout the year. Mm-hmm. So they just have a ton of weapons ready to create their own revolution.
Yeah.
So that could just become like a mini war on their planet, basically, using their own weapons against them, which would be really interesting. All right. Anyways, that's that. Initial reactions of episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Andor Season 2. A little bit of a downer, but next week will hopefully be better. Because she won't be here. We'll see you next time. You are listening to Galaxy Bound Podcast. We do monthly episodes talking about all things Star Wars. We'd greatly appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you are watching or listening from. It helps us grow and reach more people. You can follow us on social media on basically every platform out there at Galaxy Bound TV, or check us out at our website at galaxybound.tv for links to them all. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.